Good evening. I'm sure some of you started to hear about this march that we're going to do next week, so let's just start with some energy on the Phase 3 update. Do you know what the theme of the march is? Who knows the theme of the march? Anyone? Phase out, Phase 3. So let's just get fired up for a minute. Phase out, Phase 3. I go phase out. Phase 3. Phase out.
Phase 3.
Phase out.
Phase 3.
Phase out.
Phase 3.
Phase out.
Phase 3.
Phase out.
Phase 3.
Phase out.
Phase 3.
All right, I think y'all are ready to march this week. You're all going to bring one other person, right? Or two? And this is why we're going to march. So for many, many years, this organization has been fighting the jail expansion here in Orleans Parish. And we are right now in the midst of a crisis. And in my opinion, it's a crisis that the old sheriff, Sheriff Gustman, caused. But there's a lot of other players that are involved as well. But right now, we are trying to fight an expansion that is over $110 million to build an 89-bed unit for those people who are experiencing acute and subacute mental health crises. It's going to be a big circle with with glass windows around it. And if you break it down, it's about $1 million per cell unit. Now this is a big problem for several reasons. One, originally when this thing started, it was only $50 million, and now it's at $110. So we're trying to figure out who's making the money, but clearly someone is making the money if they've doubled the amount of this jail construction. Another big problem is that the city of New Orleans is breaking all kinds of laws to build this thing. And when I say laws, I say the laws that govern it. You know, if you want to go build a house, you got to go and apply for a permit, be in building code, you got to do all kinds of things. The city should have to do that as well for the jail. We have found, and we are alleging now in a lawsuit against the city of New Orleans that they are breaking the comprehensive zoning ordinance, that they are breaking the home rule charter, and they are breaking building codes. And we're looking into another allegation of another form of local law that the city of New Orleans is breaking. And the city of New Orleans has basically acknowledged, yes, we are breaking these laws, and they're saying we're doing this because the federal court is telling us to. So now we filed a lawsuit and put the federal court right on notice. Is that what you're saying? Judge Afford, are you telling the defendant, the city of New Orleans, that they have to break our laws that govern how we construct and build and manage our land here in New Orleans? And we haven't gotten an answer yet. The judge was supposed to answer earlier, and this week he said, I want a little bit more briefing, and he kind of teed it up for us. Because he said briefing is due on October 9th, and then another set of briefs are due on October 11th. But in the middle of those 2 days is October 10th, and guess what we're doing?
Phase out, Phase 3.
We're phasing. Oh, we got some edit. Phase out.
Phase 3.
So we're going to go down to New Orleans. We're going to start at City Council, then we're going to march down to the federal courthouse, and we're going to say no to this madness that we need to phase out Phase 3. That if there's anybody that believes in mental health services, especially for those who are in and out of the jail, it is this community, and we should be at the table to help design what a true constitutional building should look like, how those services should be implemented, and why are we when half of that population that's going to be in that building are in there on nonviolent offenses? Why are their bonds so high? Why aren't they getting the services they need? Why is the only services they can get in a jail? This makes no sense. This has to change. We need you all to show up next Tuesday. If you can't show up, write to City Council, write to the judge. We're putting all this information together, but we are trying to use every possible means that we can to put an end to this madness. We're litigating, we're going to the streets, we're talking to City Council, we're talking to the mayor, we're doing the policy work, and now we need to do the organizing and make sure that we're in the streets to stop this thing.
And because we don't know what this gubernatorial election is going to look like moving forward, in the event it don't go the way that we want it to go, we're going to be bombarded with folks coming in doing what they want to do. So we don't kind of like stand up and push back at the home rule charter that governs our city. That's our self-governance, we the people, and we allow somebody to dictate what we're going to do outside of that, especially when it comes to money. Like right now, $110 million for jail, we may need that $110 million to drink water. So I think people need to really kind of like put this in context aside. What do we really want? Do we want water, or do we want a jail that's not going to be built, even if they get the money tomorrow? The jail won't be completed for 2 years. So the people they're building the jail for won't even be there. So you know what they say, if they build it, they'll fill it. So some of us in this room may be in that jail. So we got to think about this thing. We got to have this forward vision about what this money is about. Straight up, I voted for the mayor both times. I voted for her both times on the city council. But she's down bad, is taking our money. And for all of us who come out the street, we've been jacked. So you know how we feel about that. You know how we feel about that. So we need to kind of like do this, and we doing just like you say. We're challenging the federal court that they took our suit and moved it to federal court that they could get away. But the federal judge has shifted the burden back to them, telling them, well, tell me why those folks need to be in federal court. They don't have a reason for us to be in federal court. So we get this thing back in state court and civil district court, then I think we can make a difference to kind of like slow this train down. So for everybody, man, if y'all can make it, it'd be huge for the federal judge to kind of like see that the people in this community don't want the jail. We just had an election. The sheriff had a millage on the ballot that lost by 90%. Nobody wants to spend money on the jail. And so, again, this started a long time ago. It didn't just start. It started under Guzman and Mitch Landrieu that kind of like signed on the dotted line. So it's not an enforcement from the federal government. They're trying to enforce a contract between the city and the sheriff. And really and truly, they can't enforce a contract because that's not their jurisdiction, enforcing contracts. So again, man, if everybody can show up and show out, you know, we can kind of like change a whole bunch of things. But more than anything else, man, between now and next week, between now and this weekend, go vote.